When they come in, they're handcuffed. They've already been arrested on the scene, and a preliminary search has been done at that time.
Welcome to the Chesapeake City Jail. For 150 inmates, this is home. After a newcomer is brought in, the personal belongings are the first thing to go. Then there's the customary mugshot, the fingerprinting, the strip search, of course. Then the inmate gets a new set of clothes before taking that long walk to a cell block with bars and a locked door. Because there are so many inmates here waiting to be transferred to state prisons, there is a terrible overcrowding problem. Not every inmate who walks in here will get his own cell. Many will end up sleeping on a cold floor because there just isn't enough room.
We have approximately 50 people sleeping on the floor in this jail at this time, and it makes it extremely difficult as far as maintaining security, and it's difficult not only for the inmates but also for the staff.
Nobody really likes sleeping on the floor, you know.
Did it make you angry?
Not angry, you know. It's just moments you go through like that, and you don't really like it, you know. You don't really like being in jail, period, you know, but it's just something you have to deal with.
It's kind of an imposition, you know, where as far as sleeping on the floors are cold and, you know, there's not really any heat to speak of, you know.
Things here will probably get worse before they get better. The Christmas holidays are right around the corner, and that's when the jail population normally peaks. Local jails just weren't meant to handle this kind of load. Prisoners are not supposed to stay here longer than a year, but some have been here as long as 18 months, and a few of those are in for very serious crimes.
We cannot handle the situation any longer on the local level. It's a very explosive situation. We run the risk of a hostage situation at any time. And another concern that I have is the possibility of an escape, and that could threaten and injure anyone in the community. We had a mini riot last spring where we had a commode ripped off the wall. We were ankle deep in water. At that particular time, we had one of our deputies stabbed with a sharp piece of porcelain. We had another incident where we had one of our deputies' leg broken. We have had an increased number of fights, fisticuffs, that sort of thing. And frankly, anytime you get that many people in that close a proximity, it's going to cause a lot of morale problems and disciplinary problems.
Some of the 50 inmates who sleep on the floor in this jail are afraid and worry about their safety. They sleep out in the open. There are no bars to separate them from the inmate sleeping on the next mattress, an inmate who might be in for a more serious crime. When you're worried about something like that, it's pretty hard to get a good night's sleep.
With somebody, I just go into a block or something, you know, all the time, got my guard up. And it's kind of hard to go to sleep that way.
Sheriff John Newhart agrees.
Because they can be intimidated very easily by the older and the more stronger inmates. And unfortunately, that's true in just about every jail or prison setting. And we have to be extremely careful that that first offender is not placed in with some hardened people.
In order to ease the situation here somewhat, a few of the inmates were transferred to the jail in Portsmouth, but that only proved to be a temporary stopgap measure. With more and more offenders being sentenced here by judges, the overcrowding is really getting out of hand. In fact, some say that sentencing is a large part of the problem here. Whatever the reason, the Chesapeake City Jail has been forced to deal with it. And the overcrowding here is not only dangerous, it's very expensive as well.
It's costing approximately $22 per day for each person that we have in here just to feed and clothe them.
Sheriff John Newhart is fed up with the situation here, and so are many of the inmates who've been forced to sleep on the floor because there isn't enough room. Robert Ward is serving time for assault and battery. He slept on the floor for a month when he first came in.
All you have is a mattress and a pillow and a sheet, and it's not much room at all. You have to store your mattress up underneath someone's bed inside the cell every day and sit out in the day area.
The inmates work off their frustrations in the gym under the watchful eye of a deputy. How does the sheriff deal with his frustrations about the overcrowding? Well, he's considering taking legal action against the state and forcing them to take some of the prisoners to state facilities where they belong.
We have been contemplating a lawsuit with some other jurisdictions. Now, frankly, we don't know what good that would do at this point. Either they have the room or they don't have the room. But up in Northern Virginia, Fairfax successfully completed a lawsuit against the Commonwealth of Virginia, and right now we're watching the situation of the Richmond City Jail, which also has entered a lawsuit.
The sheriff is afraid that one of the inmates might bring a lawsuit against the jail if they're assaulted while sleeping out in the open on the floor. He also has to worry about the juveniles housed in this jail. They're here because there's no room for them in the juvenile detention center. They require constant supervision and must be physically separated from the other prisoners because of the threat of sexual assault. It's a real problem. Newhart feels one solution would be to build an expanded work release center with 45 beds that would cost approximately $300,000. Many of the inmates here for minor offenses could take part in the program, which would take some of the burden off the jail.
Well, we have approximately 20 people on a waiting list to be placed on work release at this time. We feel it's a common sense approach and a better utilization of jail space. These people do not need maximum security, reinforced concrete and steel cells, especially if they're going to be placed to work in the community.
Newhart just may get his wish. The Chesapeake City Council is considering expanding the work release facility right now. If council gives final approval, it will still take about a year to construct the new building. But at least there would be some light at the end of the tunnel. And no longer would a jail meant to house around 100 prisoners be forced to accommodate more than 150.